Okay, good evening. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, and it is 6 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Kaiser Planning Commission. Our second order of business is the approval of minutes. And before we go there, just for the record, I want to note we have one absence tonight. Is that right? Or we have two? Okay, so
Fernando and Sarah.
Fernando and Sarah. Okay, so just make sure, because we do have a public hearing, I want to note that for the record. We have two absent tonight. Approval of consideration of the June 2025 minutes. Is there a motion on the minutes, please?
Also move.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Witters and a second by Commissioner King to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously with two absent. Next up is the appearance of interested persons. And Maxwell, I believe you're signed up for the public hearing, is that correct? Okay. And then we have a visitor that I would like to invite up, but if she doesn't want to come up, that's totally fine. I won't ask her to come up if she's not comfortable, but it's cool to have somebody here doing a school assignment, observing planning commission meetings. So thanks for being here tonight. All right. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the public hearing. Yeah, right? Okay, here we go. I'm going to open a public hearing at 6:02 on the minor variance case 2025-11 for 6955 Fir Grove Lane. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Witham and City Attorney Lindsay.
Okay, and first of all, just so that we're following our rules and procedures, I'll read off what the applicable substantive criteria is for this case. They are as follows. There's four of them. This is a request for a variance, so the requested variance, first of all, has to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the code. Second of all, the impact of the variance. You have to see that it will not unreasonably impact adjacent existing or planned uses and development. Thirdly, the minor variance doesn't or cannot exceed the standard by more than 20%. And must, you got to find that it achieves the purpose of the minor variance. And that fourth, there has not been a previous land use action approved on the basis that a minor variance would not be allowed. So those are the kind of parameters, the criteria that you're looking at and deciding on for this variance. Testimony and arguments and evidence must be directed towards the criteria in this public hearing. Or other criteria in the plan or land use regulations which you believe should apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the city council, or in this case, the planning commission, and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue actually precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. So it's a fairness idea. If you have arguments, you need to bring them up. And you need to bring them up so that people can respond to them for fairness. For the applicant, the failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue also could preclude an action for damages in circuit court. And then for the body, I need to ask, are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? Does anybody here stand to make money, to avoid some sort of economic detriment to themselves or their family in deciding this matter? I don't see any. And then are there other issues of bias or ex parte contact that you would think the applicant or anybody in attendance should know about?
You know, I'll just state for an abundance of caution that I live one street over from this. I have no exposure to this project. I haven't seen the project. I haven't been there. I don't know the applicant. But I do live one street over from where the applicant's address is.
Okay. And do you think that that leads to any bias, or do you think you can be fair and impartial?
None whatsoever.
Okay. And then prior to the close of any hearing, this is sort of the last admonition, participants would need to state any objections to bias or conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts. I'm not hearing any, so it'd be hard to state them, but, or that would be your kind of last opportunity to be heard on that, so.
I do have a question. Geared towards Shane. My question is, do the codes allow for a distance from that permit to inform neighbors of this permit in action? 250 feet?
The variance the variance request does.
Okay.
Yeah, notice was sent to surrounding property owners of the public hearing. The public hearing has been posted, which I'll give that in the staff report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this is just our preliminary setting up for people's rights, and they have to speak up or they don't get to basically argue later on that they didn't have a chance to speak, so. And that's my spiel.
Okay, and so now, to set the stage for how the public hearing is going to be conducted, we're going to hear a staff summary. The planning staff shall present a summary and recommendation concerning the proposal before us this evening. There will be a presentation of the case. The applicant's case will be provided as much as 20 minutes total. Any persons in favor will receive 5 minutes per person to discuss their position on it. Any persons opposed will receive 5 minutes per person. Other interested parties will also receive 5 minutes per person. If there's rebuttal, there will be 10 minutes total, and rebuttal may be presented by the applicant. The scope of the rebuttal is limited to matters which were introduced during the hearing by parties other than the applicant. Is there any questions on that? Okay, so hearing none, Mr. Witham, would you like to carry on with your staff summary, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Lawyer, Planning Commissioners. Variance case 2025-11. The request came to our office as for a accessory structure of 720 square feet at 6955 Fir Grove, I think. 6955, yeah, sorry. And our maximum size allowed in the code is 600 square feet. So they are requesting a minor variance, which is the 20%. Just mathematically, it works out to 720 square feet. So in the packet, there's a brief staff report. I'll cut to the chase. Staff has walked through the criteria. We wrote findings for each of those criteria. We feel that the application as proposed does comply with the relevant review criteria, and we are recommending that Planning Commission would approve the minor variance with the conditions as proposed. They're not asking for any exceptions to height or setbacks or design or anything like that. It is strictly the size. The parcel at 6955, it's a large parcel by city standards. It's 0.58 acres in size. It's a little bit unique in that it's on a private access right at the edge of town. And there really currently isn't additional development potential because there's an intervening property owner. If that other property owner were in the future to want to divide their property or put in a public access, an actual public street versus a private drive, then there could be some development potential of this site. So one of the things as staff that we wanted to look at is that the proposal would not preclude the possibility of something being developed in the future. The applicant's proposing to kind of put the structure kind of over in the corner of the property, if you will, which would afford future redevelopment if at a time down the road that became possible. This is like our first one that we've come to Planning Commission since the rules changed, right? Historically, these would have been a staff level decision that we go through. So this did afford additional notice, as Mr. Hosser, you'd asked. The notice of public hearing was sent out to surrounding property owners. We did receive one comment back from a neighbor, and it was actually in support. We included that in the packet, which is interesting because in my world, I'm used to most land use applications when you send out requests for comments. Very rarely do I get comments back that say, yeah, absolutely, this is a great idea. So that was refreshing for me. That was a kind of a new experience, to be honest. But otherwise, it really is a fairly straightforward application. Obviously, you know, we've had discussions here at Planning Commission about size of structures and why do we have the limits. And, you know, I think that the staff report does a good job of walking through the criteria. You know, one of the pieces of when we talk about intent and purpose of accessory structures is, you know, to not have structures that are dominating the visual landscape of a neighborhood or feeling out of place. I mean, in this case, they actually have neighbors that have much larger accessory structures than they're proposing that are just like right next to them that, you know, predate rules. So yeah, I mean, I think from Dina and I's perspective as the planning staff, we feel that it meets the merits of what the criteria are. We did place a few conditions in there. They're pretty standardized, nothing super crazy. But the big thing for us is that, you know, it's one thing to ask for a little bit larger structure, but we think it's very important that all the remaining elements of our standards for that structure remain intact. Things like design, height restrictions, setback requirements, all of those pieces, because those are the kind of things that can have greater impacts on the neighbor. I think with that, I don't really have much more to say other than I'm happy to either myself or Dina answer any questions if you have them on the review criteria. I mean, I could walk you through each of the review criteria if it's helpful, but I put it in the packet so you could kind of look at it, and I figured if you had questions, I could answer them instead. But yeah, I'll defer to you, Chair and Commissioners.
Planning Director Witham, thank you for the staff report. I have a couple of questions that probably aren't really pertinent to whether or not I'm going to approve or deny this request, but I noticed there are some easements on this property, and is the 0.58 acres, is that gross or is that net?
I believe that was net. Let me look. It might be gross because those are older easements. 30. I gotta do some math really quick, hang on.
No worries.
Yeah, that's gross. That's not net, sorry, my bad. Thank you.
That's right, thank you. And then this is just an accessory structure. This is not going to be an ADU, correct?
That is what they have proposed. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the reality is there's two different sets of standards. If they were building an ADU, they could actually do 750 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit. So it's a little bit of a dynamic, but this is proposed as a storage building, like a shop building.
Great, thank you.
Nothing? Okay. So I have no more questions from the dais. Mr. Lindsay, are we comfortable then going to presentation of the case from the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to invite up Mr. Scott. If you'd be willing to come on up, and you have 20 minutes. Please fill every second of that, no more, no less. I'm kidding. No, you've got up to 20 minutes. Feel like if you want to use all that 20 minutes, great. If you want brevity, that's totally fine as well. But the time is yours.
It's already on?
Yeah, if you would, just please be sure to state your name and city of residence for the record. And you are the applicant in this case, right?
Correct.
Great.
You said, state my name and what else?
State your name and city of residence for the
City
record.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Maxwell Scott, residing in Kaiser, Oregon. I'm the property owner that applied for this minor variance. I want to thank you guys for your time and consideration on increasing the allowable size of our accessory structure on our property from 600 square feet to 720 square feet. Our property is just over half an acre, accessed by way of an access easement, and we have a side yard with an abundance of space to accommodate a structure of this size while meeting all property line setback and building requirements. A 720 square foot structure will only cover about 10% of the side yard that it'll be placed in, as that side yard is roughly 7,000 square feet. I've spoken with several of my immediate neighbors, and they've all expressed support for the project. And as mentioned by Shane, one neighbor did write in during the public comment period. That was nice to hear. And that's all I really have. I said, I just want to thank you guys again for your time and consideration. This is a new process for me. I work in construction, but I'm always on the other side of this happening. So again, just thanks, and yeah, appreciate it. That's all I have.
Just want to remind you that if there are anybody presents in opposition or in favor, you have the opportunity for rebuttal.
Okay.
I don't have anybody signed up, but I will open up that opportunity. But I just want to remind you that may be an option for you. So if you're done, you're welcome to go back and grab a seat.
Awesome, thank you.
Since I have no one signed up, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of the project? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak in opposition to the project? Okay. And is there anybody else that wants to talk about the project? Okay. Well, would you like to come and rebut any of your previous statements? I want to ask, I'm following the script, yeah? Okay. So that was painful. I guess at this point, Mr. Lindsay, do we open it up for additional questions from the Planning Commission to staff and you all before we close the public hearing, or?
I think that would be the safest because during the hearing, you would want all the evidence to come in before you close it. So if you think that there's any other evidence that you would potentially want to hear, leave it open for that purpose and
Okay.
then close it when you feel you've heard enough.
And I guess the question might be then is if everybody feels super great about this, can we make a motion to close the public hearing and take action, or would you like two separate motions?
If you see, yeah, you can close the public hearing if you don't feel like if you've heard enough and you just want to deliberate on what you've heard and what you've read in your packet.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments on the applicable substantive criteria of the minor variance before us this evening?
I have a question.
Commissioner Hostler, go ahead, please.
I have a question. I apologize for not asking you. So the intent is just for a shop, no water closets? If you would, please, yes?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Is that appropriate at this point?
It would be allowable. It's not inappropriate, I guess, because we have so much time.
Okay.
It's not like he went through his whole 20 minutes.
All right, Mr. Scott, coming back up, please. Thank you. I just want to make sure we're not
Yes.
going out of bounds. Commissioner Hostler, if you would, please restate your question for Mr. Scott to be able to respond.
It's one level.
Correct, yep.
Your future plans are to, just for a shop, it's not going to have a water closet?
Not just for storage, I have a company rig and a personal rig, park my personal rig in there, something that'll actually fit in and just have a space for work area and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you for answering. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Okay. And I don't, use is not necessarily a determination in our criteria, correct? We're on the four corners of the criteria, use is not one of those, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of the fact that this is a variance that is specific to an accessory structure.
Right.
So the conditions that staff is proposing would say, hey, you can build up to 720 square feet if you meet what an accessory structure is. So for example, if Mr. Scott, if they change their plans, because this is not granting a building permit, this is just simply a land use approval. If they decide, where did we decide we don't want to build a shop? And they wanted to come in and build something else completely that's allowable in the code, that's not going to come before planning commission.
Right, okay.
So an accessory structure is defined in our code as something that is accessory to a home. It's not a dwelling. It's not an ADU. Now, it could have a bathroom in it. Some shops have bathrooms in them. That is allowable. I mean, you have to get appropriate permits to do that. But for an actual dwelling, the variance is not granting any sort of special authority for anything beyond what would meet the definition of what the city of Kaiser considers to be an accessory structure. Does that help?
No, I think it does, because I think if Mr. Scott came forward and said, no, I'm going to put a restaurant back here, that's a very
Right.
different thing.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, okay. All right, any additional, since we've got Mr. Scott, he's here, any other questions for him? No? We reserve the right to ask you to come back.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. All right. Everybody feel good? All right. Do we want a motion to close the public hearing or just close it?
You can close it as the chair.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:22. And is there a motion on the table for consideration relative to this case?
I'd make a motion, move the planning commission to direct staff to prepare an order approving minor variance case 2025-11 as outlined in the staff recommendation, along with any identified changes, but, yeah.
I think, would it be appropriate?
Do you want me to say it again, but without the identified changes?
You're welcome to make the motion however you
Yeah.
want, Commissioner.
I'll say it again without the last part. I move the planning commission to direct staff to prepare an order approving minor variance case 2025-11 as outlined in the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner King and a second by Commissioner Grentz to direct staff to prepare an order approving minor variance case number 2025-11 as outlined in the staff recommendation. Is there any discussion? No, for the record, I just want to say thank you for your patience in this, Mr. Scott. Appreciate you being the first one we've gotten to see under the new rules and your willingness to come forward and participate this evening. It's what it intended to be, so thank you. Any further discussion? Nope, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. May I ask a follow-up question, Shane? Yes. Does this start an appeals process, or are they, okay.
Yeah, so actually, I might defer to Mr. Lindsay. We had to talk about this a little bit because this is also new for us.
Right.
Normally, we issue a decision and yes, there's a 10-day appeal clock, a notice gets sent out, all of that. In this case, we actually have to come to Planning Commission for the formal order because that's how yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So when the order is actually signed, that's when notice will go out to those that participated in the hearing, obviously the applicant, anybody who submitted comments, anybody who has standing, I think is the right term that
Yeah.
is the legal
Parties.
term. And so that would start that appeal clock. So that can't really be started until we have an order that gets signed. So Mr. Lindsay, do you want to say more to that process-wise?
Well,
How
just
that
so
works?
we understand, so we didn't, because it's a public hearing and it's a quasi judicial hearing, and you don't want to presuppose what the outcome's gonna be, and staff can't always know exactly what's gonna happen in here and prognosticate perfectly. So, we have decided that in the course of having what looks like the most, clean and pure hearing, once it's been heard, once you guys have directed us to do something, whether it would have been this or other conditions or whatever, we'll go back and, it'll be what you see in the packet, basically, but it'll be your final order and findings. and then you'll adopt those officially at your next meeting.
So I have a question on that. Is there a DLCD notification requirement for that?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask another follow-up question because I'm loving questions tonight. If we can pull the planning commission and get this done sooner, that's advantageous for the applicant in this case. So, for example, if we needed to do a meeting next week in order to approve the final order, that's theoretically something that could potentially happen, correct?
Correct.
So commissioners, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind, because maybe we'll bring that up under other and see if we can find time that's appropriate, whether Dawn sends us an email and we just try to coordinate, but I want to be mindful of the fact that if we wait another month, it could potentially put the applicant in this case behind the eight ball in terms of ability to construct while it's still favorable weather.
That's fair.
So,
And I've seen where oftentimes this process seems more streamlined when there's planning commissions that meet more than once a month.
that's right.
So, yeah.
Well, we haven't decided on that. I just wanted to bring it up. That way, if commissioners feel really strongly about seeing y'all twice in 1 month. And, what's that? I'm sorry? Well, and there'll be new people next month too. We'll have one new planning commissioner.
Well, yeah.
Carry the one,
And what I'll say about that is that person, if they were to read this information, could say that they're willing to make a decision on it, but these 5 will be repeats.
as long as they're on the phone. I already
Yeah.
did that to Commissioner Witters, and he didn't talk to me for a week at work. It was very uncomfortable. All right, new old business staff report.
Sorry.
Well, actually, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Should we dispose of whether or not we should, so I want to be respectful of Mr. Scott's time, and I want to create some predictability in his life. Should we dispose of whether or not we can meet soon, or should we just have Dawn send something out and go based off of that? What seems to make the most sense?
Chair?
Yes, please.
Lawyer, may I interrupt? We were just discussing this. It's in the packet, and since there's absolutely no changes, maybe you could just vote that you guys would empower you to sign it as adopted now, and then we can prepare it and let you sign it.
I'd like to make a motion to consider an item that was not on the agenda and add to the agenda this evening, the adoption of minor variance case 2025-116955 Fir Grove Lane. That's my motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on what I said. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. What a great idea. So now, before us, we have an item to consider approval of the order for minor variance case 2025-11 for 6955 Fir Grove Lane. And it is the order in our packet, which was presented by staff. They're talking.
Yeah, sorry, we were sidebarring. What that will say, starting on page 9 of your packet, instead of staff recommendation to planning commission, it will say planning commission, final conclusion, findings, and order.
I believe you.
Okay.
And if I may, Chair, this is something that, again, thank you for bearing with us. This was something that came up kind of late in the day for Shane.
Sure.
Because I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's going to tack on more time. And the issue is, tonight we didn't have any opposition. There weren't any changes to recommended conditions. I would say that's probably not the norm for conditional uses that you might hear or other variances requests that might come before the commission in the future. Because if testimony is provided, if conditions need to be modified, then there does need to have the ability to go back and write additional findings and create the record that would support that future order. So I just kind of wanted to point that out, like it
It
is.
was a very long way to say thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Fair enough. Fair.
No, I mean, hey, we're kind of building the plane where we're flying here a little bit, so, so the consideration is for the, help me out, Mr. Lindsay, because I think you restated something, and I thought I had it right, but is it consideration of the final order for minor variance case, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and what page is that? You said page 9?
It's page 9 of the packet.
And that's the motion, yes?
Yeah, you could make the motion that said, you would move to adopt these as a final order for you to sign as chair.
Yeah. Well, somebody gotta do it. I made the motion to add the agenda item. I'm not doing it again. Commissioner Witters, go for it.
I would like to make a motion that the staff recommendation to planning commission be adopted as a final order for minor variance case 2025-11, to be signed by chair lawyer at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Witters and a second by Commissioner Grants, as Commissioner Witters stated very eloquently. Is there any discussion on the motion before us tonight on the final order? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. So I believe we should be able to get that signed this evening, yes?
Or maybe tomorrow.
Okay,
And once it's signed, then the appeal process will start.
okay. And that's, you said a 15-day, 10-day?
10-day.
10-day, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to change some of the words where it says staff recommendation to make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
final order. So it'll be, we may be able to get that out tomorrow or the next day, but we'll coordinate with you to get a signature on it.
That's fine. I will make myself available even if it's at lunchtime, which I do. Well, hopefully, Mr. Scott, that's good for you. Thanks for being here again tonight. And, Shane's gonna be your next best friend trying to figure out how to maneuver the next parts of this, so. And I will say theoretically, if it does get appealed, it could come back to us. So we need to kind of maintain some neutrality in it, yeah?
Yes. I mean, an appeal from here would usually go up to
Right.
city council, but I have seen where city councils remand it back to you.
That's why I said theoretically. I didn't say practically. We're not talking urban chickens here. What's broken?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I just had to double check.
The appeal would go to council.
The
but
appeal would go to
theoretically,
city
they
council.
could remand if they chose
Yeah.
to. Got it. I would be shocked, but I've been shocked before. All right, moving on again, back to new old business staff report.
Okay. Restart. Yeah, new old business staff report. I kind of figured tonight we might do something a little bit different. We might play a little game. No, I'm just kidding.
Duck, all that.
I just kind of wanted to give you guys a few updates and then actually give you an opportunity if you had any questions for us. It's been a busy summer, even though we didn't have planning commission for a couple months. So you're welcome. I'm welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I love summertime. But there's been some activity going on, things going up, things getting built, some things that are like, oh, okay, sweet. And just a couple of those things, if you don't know about them, I kind of want to give you updates. You've got the old Freeman Chiropractic building on River Road. I know that Councilor Duran's real aware of it because he called me and was like, what do they do? And I was like, I don't know. It was a re-roof. And a re-roof turned into a rebuild. And so that one was a kind of a crazy deal. They started with just a simple re-roof. It was a permit we don't even really review because they were literally just doing a re-roof. And when their contractor got into it, the roof had an epic failure and rotted out 90% of the walls. And so now they're in for permits for review to basically rebuild that whole structure. So a little bit crazy, but yeah, my phone was blowing up for a couple of weeks with a lot of people going, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't know, you would think that I would know, but I don't actually have a clue. But very nice people. It's going to be an accounting firm that's going to have their offices there. But so that's pretty prominent, happened on River Road. I actually just met with Jonathan, who owns Fa Kaiser, that is moving to the new, or the old, they're going to have a new location at Sherry's. Quiet. Anyway, I just met with them today because they're doing some landscaping stuff. You know, that the Sherry's building has looked pretty gnarly for the last few years. That's a super professional term. This is awesome. I'm losing it, guys. Sorry. It has not looked great there for a while, so I'm excited to see the improvements they're making. They're doing some remodeling inside. They're moving right along. I asked them when they were going to be open, and they're not sure yet, but they're working on that. They're going to be doing some upgrades to the landscaping. Hopefully they'll bring the grass back to life, but I'm guessing that's next year at this point before that really happens. So that project's going on. The other thing is we just had permits applied for, and it's pretty wild because I think that the first permits in Kaiser Station maybe were pulled in 2005, I think. And so 20 years later, the last permits in Kaiser Station Area A have been applied for. So that pad site next to REI, that's just a field, they actually applied for permits this last week for a shell. I think it's five tenants. So 2 larger tenants and 3 smaller tenants. Tenants to be, well, we'll find out. I'm sure they know something, but haven't got tenant improvements yet, but they just made application. We haven't even really started our review process quite. But so that was kind of exciting because that is, I believe, the very last site in Area A of Kaiser Station. So building permits have been applied for there. So that was kind of a big deal. And I'll keep everybody posted as I know more. I'm sure that when tenant improvements come in, we will be letting people know about that. The other thing I kind of wanted to give you a heads up on, I'd been, the Kaiser Times had reached out to me this week to ask questions about housing, and specifically housing that's being built and produced in Kaiser. And so Dina and Megan, our permit specialists, pulled some numbers for us, and just, you know, we've anecdotally said it, that, yeah, it seems like in the last couple of years, all we see is middle housing. Well, I just sent a chart off to the Kaiser Times, which in the last 2 years, we've had 4 single-family homes and 36 duplexes. So, and that was just the 2 numbers I remember off the top of my head. But basically, out of all the housing that's been built in the last, since the beginning of 2024, 4 total homes as single-family detached homes. Everything else has been middle housing and or multifamily housing. So I just thought that was interesting. Like the anecdotal feel was supported by actual looked up numbers. There was one other thing I was going to share with you that I cannot remember what it is. I do know what it is. You know, when the Verta Crossing apartments were built a few years ago, and in 2016, that went through a big comp plan zone change process. Some of you here were around for that. One of the conditions out of that was that they were supposed to install a informational sign about the old farm. And so in 2022, when they applied for permits, we had a condition on the permits. It took them a while to build them. They were building into, you know, last year, finally got everything all done. The project got done. There was some delays in production of some stands and things like that. And I was so excited because I thought the signs were going up Monday. And they put up one sign, which was for Rosalie's cows. But the other, their fabricator may have made an error on how he built the other sign for the Herber Farm sign. So they had to go back to production there. But that's kind of a fun one. That's one of those, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but it was one of those conditions that somehow filtered through and slipped in the cracks. There was a commitment made over here, and the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing, and they might have been both of my hands. But it was brought to our attention, and we righted the ship and got it taken care of. But so I was kind of excited about that, and hoping to say, hey, both signs are up, which shows the whole farm, and the developer actually was very gracious and installed a second sign, which kind of talks about the cow circle, the artwork there. But unfortunately, because the base for the farm sign was incorrect, only the cow sign got put up on Monday. So they'll be, as soon as they get it from their fabricator, they'll be getting that up. So Anyway, that was one that was just an interesting little piece of the puzzle. The other thing I would say is, I don't know if you've heard, but there's been some talk in the community, and I think I put it in a weekly update a few weeks ago. The prospective developer of the Isla Ve property, we call the Isla Ve property, the property on River Road, near Manzanita and McNary Estates Drive. They had kind of put out into the world that they wanted to do a neighborhood meeting, just to basically invite the neighbors to have a meeting here at the City Hall complex. They were gonna rent a room at the Civic Center, and there was talk about it being in September, which it isn't happening. It's gonna be in October, it sounds like, but I don't have a date certain. But there's been some confusion, so hey, since the three people that are watching, and so you all know, it is not a city meeting. It has nothing to do with the city. It is legitimately, the developer said, we want to hear from the neighbors before we finalize and make a formal application. The reason I'm telling you all this is when we get an application, whenever that happens, which I've been saying for a year, we're going to get an application, we're going to have public hearings on this, and it still hasn't happened. But when we get that application, and that application gets deemed complete, and we host and have public hearings, that will be before you all to make a recommendation to city council on. So, because it's a master plan. And so, right, so it's going to be you have to do a master plan on that site. And so that's something that I want to put it out there, because with the rules around quasi-judicial land use decisions and ex parte contact and all of those types of things, it's going to be very hard not to have some of that ex parte contact, which in and of itself is not the end of the world. You just have to declare it. So be mindful of that, because any community meeting that happens, I'm sure you all might get hit up with questions of neighbors, and you have to be very careful about substantive type of questions. So I kind of wanted to give that reminder, because it sounds like it's probably going to happen sometime in mid-October. They had checked with our event center staff and kind of asked about 4 different dates, and I believe their team has not landed on what date it's going to be. But when it is there, like, just be aware. Other than that, sorry, this is getting longer than I thought. So many things to update. Sometimes when we don't meet in 2
You've
months.
never been long-winded, so we're good.
Man, that's like second time, Matt. That's a second shot. Man, third is gonna hurt my feeling.
I was gonna tell a joke, but I didn't.
The other thing I was gonna let you know is we had our first requests for middle housing land divisions. If you remember, we passed, rule changes, to enact Senate Bill 458. So subdivision up north on OPEC Street, 10-lot subdivision. That developer sold to a builder. The builder's building some single-family homes. That was 2 of the 4 are in that subdivision. And they're building duplexes on the other lots. And, Dina, help me, was it 4 lots? 5 of them? 4 middle housing. Okay. So yeah, they're going to build 6 duplexes, and 4 of those lots, they've applied for middle housing land divisions, and we've just recently processed those. Did we get them sent out today? Oh yeah, so Dina got them sent out today. I know I signed them today. I wasn't sure if they're going out today or tomorrow. So we have officially, at least, preliminarily approved. They still got to get their platting process done. But so that's kind of going to be interesting to see how that all works out. It was a little bit of a fun, it wasn't fun. It was a little bit awkward navigation that mostly Dina had to do to figure out. It's a weird process. So anyway, but I want to let you guys know that, because that is one of those pieces that it will allow for each of those halves of a duplex to be owned separately, kind of like a townhouse or a condo.
That was a compulsory action we had to take,
Yeah,
correct?
100%.
Commissioner Grants.
So I had heard some scuttlebutt around the possibility of that builder doing some middle housing land division. So I looked on the city's webpage, the land use action page. Sorry. Sorry, Don. Where would those actions be found in on that page? I know they're
Hopefully they'll be there tomorrow.
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, you explain that, because I don't really know. Okay. So there is a little bit of an issue with our website right now, because our website is shifting over in like this next month, where we have a website committee that's working on things. So there were some kind of pages that had to be locked down, if I understand right, but we should be able to get those up, right?
Put it on and then I'll re-put them on the new website.
Yeah. So anyway, just as a heads up, but yes, hopefully with the redesigned website that hopefully is going live sometime in October, things may be a little bit better and easier to find. We'll see. Okay, good question. I don't have anything else.
Follow-up, just because it was in the newspaper, but we haven't talked about it since. So we had done the legislative hearing, I believe in May, maybe it was June, I don't remember, on a project that we weren't supposed to know what was actually happening, but there was some legislative amendments to the code. It sounds like that's all been resolved. The council made some choices and that's all settled. So the legislative piece there is completely done, right?
Yeah, the council ended up just changing the code as to the smaller,
Right.
they call it the smaller triangle next to the transit, and only for the restaurant piece, not for the gas piece.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was the final decision.
So no gas, but drive-throughs, yes?
Yes, drive-throughs only on the small by the.
Correct, okay.
Yeah, so neither one of those uses still in the bigger piece.
Right. Not that we actually know what's going to happen, because, right. Cool. All right. Any additions? All right. Council representative report, Councilor Duran.
I really don't have much, except I want to say, I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but we allowed both of you two to come back. So you guys were both affirmed to come back for another term. And then Larry Scruggs was appointed to the position that Sarah was leaving on. So I see that he's here, so welcome next month. And that's all I have.
Fantastic. We have Commissioner Grentz reporting on October 6th, 6 p.m. You good with that?
Yes.
Great.
I have if I may,
Yeah, please.
I have a couple questions for Shane. I know we've not seen each other. I emailed you, I think 2 weeks ago or something. I get I haven't seen any of you guys in a long time, and so I feel like what do they call that, stepchild out in the corner there, Oliver Twist. My question, Shane, is two questions. First one is, what is your experience and your stories with the property at Kaiser Station, south of Chemawa, where you have the Chick-fil-A and you have the construction going on? I know that, excuse me, I know the two tribes of CTI and CTSI own those. My question of you is, how is your experience working with them and getting feedback and moving things through?
Yeah, it's been fine. I mean, they did a master plan amendment a few years ago. Actually, they did like 3 master plan amendments a few years ago because Chick-fil-A kept changing their mind where they wanted to go. But then the most recent one was when they shifted, and right now we have the 2 shell buildings that look pretty darn done. They're kind of in an L shape there, multi-tenant buildings. I chatted with their architect just a week or so ago. I was curious. I was like, hey, haven't seen any TIs. Do we have tenants yet? And he really didn't have an update for me. So I know there was some shifting in their real estate arm of who was doing leases and whatnot. So there's a hotel being built right now. And that's actually, Tammy reminded me, it's a Marriott of some sort. I can't remember which one it is, but that, building permit's been approved. There's also, what is it? Discount Tire. Sorry, I couldn't think of their name. Discount Tire also has permits in for review they've not been issued yet. So I mean, so there's some movement happening in Area D. I really don't know tenants outside of Discount Tire, and the hotel has an actual named, I just can't remember it off the top of my head, I'm sorry. But the other two buildings that have permits issued, really very close to being done, could probably be getting finals any time now, just about. But I don't have any tenant improvements for those. Does that answer your question,
Yes,
Mr.
sir, it
Hostler?
does.
Okay.
My second question is, over by Target, they have a number of charging stations going in.
Yeah.
I know this is going to open up a very larger potential subject, but how does that process work? How are we trying to bring in charging stations into the city?
Well, I mean, I don't know totally how to answer that, Mr. Hostler. The chargers up at Target approached us and said, hey, we want to get some permits to put some chargers over here on this side in the parking lot area. We said, okay, get appropriate building permits. That's fine. It's allowed use in the zone. Now, the city itself we got a grant to upgrade our charger right out here in City Hall parking lot. But we don't, as a city collectively, there isn't like a specific, okay, we're going out looking for electric vehicle charging stations, or we're pursuing electric vehicle, I should just say EV. We're not out pursuing EV charging stations necessarily. So it really has been more opportunistic. Like this was an opportunity that, our charger was like a trickle charger, and so now it's a better charger. It's not like a great charger, but it's better here at City Hall, and that was done through some grant dollars. But otherwise, it really is the private entities that are driving that.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions there? Fantastic. Well, I just want to say, Sarah Hutchins was great having on the planning commission. Really appreciated her feedback and trudging through some difficult discussions with House Bill 2001, some of the CFAC things, going through a number of different public hearings. And I just appreciated her perspective and willingness to serve on this committee. It's not the big fun one that everybody doesn't know it is, because it's actually a ton of fun. We have a lot of fun here. I'm sorry?
It's the best.
It's the best. It actually is the best. We have the best crew. But yeah, thanks to Sarah for her time and efforts, and fortunately for her job has taken her on new exciting things, but unfortunately for us, it's taken her out of this opportunity, and I'd like to welcome back our vice chair and our colleague, Commissioner Grentz. Super happy to have him on board, and I'm also sorry to say that you're stuck with me for a few more years. So thank you to the Volunteer Coordinating Committee. It was a good discussion, and looking forward to watching soon-to-be Commissioner Scruggs next month get sworn in. So it'll be great. And yeah, any other thoughts, comments, witty statements, remarks? Are we looking at October, do you think, or? Yep, okay.
I think so.
Sounds good. Well, just pay attention to what Shane and Mr. Lindsay said relative to potential meetings that are going to happen. Take note if you end up in conversations, because we don't want to potentially jeopardize the future of projects. So if there's nothing else for the good of the order, we will stand adjourned at 6:54.